what's happening? I am Tommy, and you were on the lifeboat. Hope you're having a good day. Lilac Lime, good to see you. K Design, what's up? Auntie KK, always a pleasure. The Roulette Master is here. Hey, Heather. Loretta Hauser from Arizona, glad you're here. West Coast Fancy Nancy, good to see you as always. Caroline in Canada, right on time. I'm glad you are here. Hope everything is going well. So, people, we are going to, you better tighten up your game. Did you hear that? That was the Johnny Scoville. Disclosure, good to have you here. Hello from Florida, ADJ, good to have you here. Aspire to Inspire, David Booley. What that, fam? Mittens 1970, there you are. Lisa Adams, good to see you from Orange County, California. Spent some time there myself. Fresh Hair, here from Florida. See that? You guys get it now. You get it now. This is how it works. So there is actually things to talk about today. This is not just me showing back up for more money, like almost everyone that's covering this. 300 of you in here, so do me a favor and hit that like button. It makes a big difference, and it chaps YouTube. What's that?
It is free to watch.
It is free to watch. You can also hit the subscribe button and hit the bell for notification that when I go live, in theory, you will know that I'm going live. Maryland's Fine Art. Hey, my friend, how are you? Happy to see you tonight. Well, I'm doing well, and I'm glad that you are here. Hello from Tennessee, Edward. There's a girl I'm pretty fond of who's in Tennessee. Thinking of keeping her, if you want to know the truth. Thinking of keeping her. The Punisher from Louisville in the house. Glad that you are here. Incognito, glad you're here. Chickacherry Cola, what's happening? All right, Sue Nelson. So here's the deal. We all have seen the video of the white car that is going by the house that is not Nancy Guthrie's. This house was 2.5 miles away from the crime scene, which is unfortunately, hey, Snoopy, which unfortunately falls a little bit farther than the 2 mile that Sheriff Toe Drag had first, he said he had a 2 mile crime zone that he wanted all of the ring cam footage that he could get from within that 2 miles. Then he should have expanded that to 2.5. This property is 2.5 miles outside. Not to be political, but did you hear about the possible terrorist attack in Austin, Texas? I have not. If there is one, I probably will do a show on it, though. I wouldn't be surprised. I have a feeling that this could be happening. Unfortunately, that's one of the things that happens when we attack Iran. It's a possibility. Reese's channel is real and raw. She shines like Stevie Nicks. Oh, she's going to love that. Because by way of full disclosure, I may have had a bit of a Stevie Nicks crush when I was younger. And my wife kind of knows about that, so she will appreciate the hell out of that. You watched a great stream with Reese today. Well, she's got game, people. She has mad game. That is my wife, Relatable Reese. If you haven't checked her out, you should. You will thank me. Hit the like, free, rated R. That's right. Hit that like button. I am going to say all kinds of things on here I'm not supposed to say, so you hitting the like button actually really benefits me, and it pisses off YouTube, and that always makes me happy, in spite of the fact that they pay the check. Around here, they don't let people talk. So that house that's 2.5 miles away, we saw a video. That video was shared with Fox News. Fox News saw it first. They leaked it to the public. And we see a car go by like this, right? It literally goes by in the blink of an eye. And some people that are into this have slowed it down slightly. And by slowing it down slightly, they have come to think that this may be a Kia Soul. And if that is the case, well, then that's just fantastic. Hold on 1 second, folks. Yeah, it does look like 3 troops. We have an alert here. Yeah, it does look like there may have been a terrorist attack. And that is just a mass shooter. I'm sorry. We'll be covering it later. I'm really sorry to hear that. Prayers. Can we put some ones up in the chat for the families of all those people in Austin, Texas? That's going to be a big deal. I will be talking about that. All right. So we get some ones up there. That's how we do prayers. Virtual hugs, whatever you do. If you don't pray, send positive vibes, whatever. I'm a prayer personally. Hey, honey, good to have you here. Hey, Roddy Mom. Roddy Mom's got unbelievable skill. Johnny Scoville, you saw the picture of Katy Perry.
Oh, I did.
Absolutely blew us away, Roddy Mom. Loved that. So here's the deal. We saw that thing go by at lightning speed. They said it happened to be a Kia Soul, white in color. Here's something that they haven't said, right? According to TMZ, and you can't believe anything TMZ says because Harvey Levin is just evil. Oh, he is. Harvey Levin said that the FBI is not interested in this. So we have people in Tucson, a bunch of them. We have family, friends, nephews, nieces, a bunch of people that we know in Tucson. And one of them actually went out there for us and sort of took a video. I wanted to know how in hell they got that video because houses are never that close to the road. Hey, Kevin Hawthorne, Lakeland, Florida. The houses are never that close to the road. How did they get that video? And I just wanted them to maybe slow down and see if you could see a camera. Well, this individual hopped out of the car and walked all over God's creation at that house. There are 3 cameras at that house, and they are all 100 plus feet away from the front door so that they can film the road. I've been talking about this since the case started. You're not going to get a Ring doorbell cam that's going to see the road. The houses are designed in such a way that you don't see traffic go by, that you don't hear traffic go by, right? They take an acre of land or more and they drop the house in the middle of it. So you have a long driveway and it's very difficult usually to see traffic going by. That's why, unlike the Koberger case or unlike the Spencer and Monique Tepe case, it's not as easy to pick up all kinds of Ring camera footage and follow someone all the way home. It's not like that in the Catalina foothills. However, this is a little bit different. They have these cameras set up away from the house right on the road, but there are 3 of them. There are 3 of them. One faces left, one faces right, and one faces forward. This would lead me to believe that at least one of those cameras got a really good look at the back bumper. And maybe the reason that TMZ is telling us that there's nothing to see here, keep moving, nothing to see here, is because there's a hell of a lot to see here. Kelly, you look fantastic in green. I am so glad you're here.
My hammock's green.
What's that? Your hammock is green. Johnny Scoville is laying in a hammock. You can't see this. Maybe I'll show you at the end. But we have hammocks that go like this in this house so that we can lay in hammocks and watch television or watch YouTube. What about the headlights seen on the street behind the perp during the abduction? Yeah, the problem is going to be that you may be able to catch a glimpse of that, but there isn't going to be a house that's going to get a close enough view of that to be terribly effective. The reason that those 3 cameras are promising, in my opinion, is because it's 2.5 miles from the Nancy Guthrie house. That would put it at about 8 minutes, right? And it was taken about 8 minutes after her pacemaker disconnected from the house. By the way, last night people were talking about that pacemaker and they said there was a nurse, and that nurse was on another content creator's channel. I usually don't mention other content creators. Whether good or bad, it's a respect thing. But somebody on that channel had talked about how this nurse said, oh, no, it could take a long time for the disconnect to happen. So I reached back out to my doctor friend who said, no, it won't. And we have learned more about that pacemaker. Hey, the artist formerly known as DJ Daddy-O, good to see you. 700 people in here. Do me a favor, hit that like button. It really pisses off YouTube. Then hit subscribe and hit the bell for notification. We see the pacemaker that they describe of hers is about a little bit smaller than a silver dollar, and it is round. That told this doctor a decent amount about this particular unit, because very often they are square. And he said that when that disconnected, that is when that disconnected. That once that feed gets away from the base is going to record that like that. He said he doesn't know why a nurse said that. Maybe it's an older model. He has no clue, but he said, no. The second you separate from that base, and he said the amount of information that is recorded on that device is remarkable. If you're not hooked up to that device, it's going to store in the pacemaker until that device gets close enough. But there is a lot of people that are now theorizing that she absolutely was in bed, because we would have seen spikes happen earlier if she had been up going to the door. The only other option would be that she knew who came to the door. I don't think that's the case, because if you knew who was coming to the door and they're wearing a balaclava, what difference would that make? It would scare the shit out of you, right? It's not like you're going to go, oh, thank God the guy in the balaclava is someone I know. No, that balaclava would probably do it. Tommy, want to see something crazy? Live vigil streaming now. 10 people showed up, no neighbors or family, not the sheriff. It's odd streaming now. Usually the cops show up at these to look for suspects. The cops aren't doing anything right on this case. I'm going to be going over that in a little bit, but it's absolutely remarkable, right? It is absolutely remarkable how many mistakes were made in this case, and we can go over them. I mean, I could take the next hour to go over them, but most of you know them. The biggest problem has been that Sheriff Nanos wants to be a rock star. He absolutely wants to be a rock star. So he's doing interviews with the BBC, because you know what? It's really important to do interviews with the BBC. Think of all of those people in Great Britain that can phone in some tips on this. This is a guy that just craves the camera in a very big way. And unfortunately, Scott Peterson vibes, Lisa Renfro's. If you remember the candlelight vigil for Scott's wife, a lot happened at that one. That's when he was on the phone to Amber saying, "Oh, I'm looking at the Eiffel Tower right now. You wouldn't believe how beautiful it is." What a low life that cat was. 800 of you in here. Hit that like button, please. Hit subscribe and hit the bell for notification. They're determined to look like shit, Roddy's mom says. And there's a lot of truth like that. There really is. It's really disturbing that in the very beginning of this case, before anything got rolling, the original information that came out was all wrong. And that has changed how this case has been handled from the word go. If the day they went in there and realized that she didn't walk off, and they knew, right? They knew when they walked in there, because we have heard since that there were signs of a struggle. We've heard that there were signs of forced entry, all of these things. The fact that nothing was taken. There was a wallet there with money in it, $300. They didn't take the smartwatch. They didn't take any of the gold. They didn't take anything in the house. So it looks very much like a targeted attack. But there are people who are still saying that, are they back onto neckbeard? Leslie, I don't think they were ever off neckbeard. What? I know. Shut your pie hole, Johnny Scoville. I promise you I'm getting to it. Here's the thing. Excuse me while I blow my nose. I'm wondering if your doctor friend connected the spike with the end of life, pacemaker. I'll leave all the details that people don't like to hear, which led me to believe that's what happened. My friend who is a doctor said if her heart stopped beating, right, while she was still in that house, before it separated from the base, it would be showing that device trying to shock the heart, small little rhythmic shocks. It won't be able to get it started again. There's no chance that that is going to happen, but it is going to continue to do that, right? Over and over and over again. I'm sorry. Here's so I am of the firm belief, according to this doctor, that her heart was beating when it left the house. I wholeheartedly believe that. I believe that her heart was beating before they left the house. If they went in and accidentally killed this woman wearing gloves, balaclavas, everything they could do to hide DNA, and it looks like it was successful, because one of the other things we found out today officially is that, unfortunately, the blood that they found inside the house is not going to be enough to put it into CODIS. And it has also been all of the other DNA collected in there comes back to people that are supposed to have been in the house. I don't know exactly what that means. I am a little bummed out that you can just go, well, yeah, it's the pool guy. No, it's the guy that came in here to do home health care. They should tell us how they're ruling those people out, right? They should tell us how they're ruling those people out. Miss Guthrie's DNA is certainly in Annie and Tommaso's car, so why are officials keeping it? What else are they looking for? Renee, that's a great question. I would say that a lot of it is going to have to do with the little computer box that is in there, because that car acts like a cell phone. And by that, I mean it is pinging off of all kinds of towers. So anything that is happening in that car, where it goes, what it does, all of that has a roadmap that you can follow. But it's not like a phone where you just celebrate that thing. It takes a little bit more time. And I would imagine that they're literally going through every single square inch of that. They're probably looking for any blood, anything that can tie them to this crime. It's astounding to me that they've had that car as long as they have. Now, by way of full disclosure, we don't know how long it would take for them to eliminate something, but they sure as hell have had it a long time, and they're not returning it just yet. Right? They are not returning it just yet. But the blood inside the house isn't going to help us. They may be able to, yes, the family was cleared. However, very often, dead Karen storage, very often people will say things to us that are absolute BS. They do this a lot. They don't want to for the perps to know what's happening. If you followed the Brian Kohberger case, every single day they were telling us, we got no leads, we got no cars, we got no people of interest. And the entire time, they had a DNA sample. They knew who it belonged to. They had a car. All of that was being held from us because very often they'll keep their cards close to the chest. And we don't feel like that's happening in this case because Sheriff Nanos has shot his mouth off again and again and again about stuff we didn't need to hear. But when they say the family was cleared, if the family was cleared, that car would be sitting in Neckbeard's driveway, right? His phones, his computers, his laptops, all of those things would be turned back over to them. And my understanding is that none of those things have happened. So they can say that the family has been cleared. I personally don't believe that. I'm sorry, I don't. And it's, they don't want us to spook the real perps, Lisa Renfro says. And that's correct. They're going to lie to us, right? 47 days for Brian Koberger. Correct. It took 47 days for them to make an arrest on that, and we're getting closer to that, aren't we? We're closing in on the 1 month mark, and we all expect this thing to be solved while we're going to the bathroom because that's how it is on television, right? You get up and go to the bathroom, or you get up and get a bag of Lay's potato chips, and when you come back, all of the DNA has already been tested and they know who the perp is. It doesn't happen like that. And by the way, we did a little research, and it can cost anywhere from $6,000 to $10,000 for them to test a glove. Can you imagine that? $6,000 to $10,000. So when we heard that $200,000 have already been spent on this case, you go, God, that's a lot of money. Yeah, well, not at $10,000 a glove, right? Or even call it somewhere in between there. Let's call it $8,000 a glove. We know for a fact that the first time they told us about gloves, they had found 16 of them. I read today that there are 22 of them that have been found. Good Lord, man. And they're chasing down leads on these things. Those gloves are probably not discarded by people that weren't looking for her. These are agents. These are cops. Did you happen to see, put a 3 in the chat, and you guys are all going to put 3s because you guys are true crime aficionados. But did you happen to see the 2 ladies from Mexico that showed up at the house with a prod and a shovel to start digging in Nancy Guthrie's front yard? They believe that they're going to find the body. So they just walk up and start digging in her front yard. Can you imagine what a defense attorney is going to do with this? And I understand that these are people that want to help. And I also understand that they've been remarkably successful on the other side of the border finding people. But let me tell you something from a criminal standpoint. If you were to get out of there successfully with this body, I don't think you're stopping on the front yard to bury it. That doesn't make any sense. None at all. My science teachers deliberately added misleading scenarios to make scientific method problem solving difficult. Example, staged crime scenes points to uncertain crime sending kidnap emails 3 days later. Excellent. Hold on 1 second. Thank you so much for the support. I may even come back to that, but I'm in the mood, and I'm in the mood. You've tortured the friend of the son-in-law to the point he is frightened for his family. I'm a monster, Johnny Scoville. Hey, Dead Karen Storage. It's been really nice having you here. Do me a favor. Go fornicate yourself, all right? If you have a wrench, make this stupid Karen disappear for the rest of eternity. Yeah, I have tortured nobody. What I have done is said this, right? This is what I have done. I have said, I never accused this guy of doing it, you dumb box. But what I did say was there is a couple of photos that would lead you to believe, I'm of the I don't really give a crap variety this evening. I said that you will notice that looks very familiar. Am I wrong for saying that? Put a 3 in the chat if I'm a monster. If you think that those 2 lips look the same, put a 4 in the chat for me. Personally, I think they look the same. Also, this guy has a very perfect resume for this particular kind of crime. He has done burglaries and he has done robberies. Now, by way of full disclosure, robbery can be stealing stuff from Home Depot, right? But robbery always has something to do with you confronting another person. There's another person involved. So if you're a shoplifter and you're trying to get out of Home Depot and a guy comes up to stop you and you pop him in his head, it goes from shoplifting or grand larceny to robbery, because robbery involves you having to control another individual to take the property that you have, right? This guy has robbery charges. He has burglary charges, which are going into someone else's dwelling or someone else's business to steal things. That's the kind of resume that makes somebody in true crime think maybe that's the guy that could be involved. I have, however, never accused this guy of being involved, despite what our friend Karen says That never happened. On the bright side, we won't have to see her again. What I have said is, I like neckbeard for this crime. Why? Does that look normal to you? Huh? Is that a good look, Johnny Scoville? That is them leaving the house. You'll see that Annie has a hood pulled up over the top of her head, and she's pulling her shirt up to cover her face. Neckbeard is pulling his shirt up to cover his face. He's got sunglasses on. Is this how people act? Because I'm sorry, it isn't, right? This isn't the first time we've had a case like this. I mean, it may be the first time that someone has, that we think maybe it's a kidnap for ransom or whatever, but how many times have we seen a person disappear and the family are suspects? They go out and talk to the press, even the guilty ones, right? Think of Stephen Stearns, right? And his diabolical girlfriend. They were out there doing interviews and talking to the press. That's the normal behavior. This is abnormal behavior. You're not Justin Bieber. Why are you trying to hide your face from pictures being taken of you? That to me doesn't make any sense. You can agree or disagree with me, but I'm not accusing anybody of being anything. I said, I like this guy, Neckbeard, not Dominic, but I like Neckbeard for this crime for a reason. This is one of the reasons. Usually the press is your best friend if someone you love is missing. Does that make sense? It ought to. Because you can plead with them for whatever it is you want. If you want the neighborhood to be left alone, then you can plead for that, right? You can absolutely plead for them to do that. You can ask people to please, and I do mean please, pray for the family, right? If you're innocent, you flip the camera off, go about your day. I mean, yeah. If you're innocent, you stop and talk to them. Please pray for my mother-in-law, right? She's a beautiful woman. For looking outside their box. Well, thank you, John. I appreciate that. I really, really do. What a great picture, too. I have a thing about cats. I'm surprised you didn't know that. Why hide your faces? Your own mother is missing. You don't hide your face. You go out and you engage with the public. And thank you for the support. And you know what? I wanted to bounce that woman out of there, so I really didn't thank you enough. Jennifer Liberty, thank you for your support. I'm sorry. I saw that woman and said, I'm really going to enjoy. Let me give you a little bit of the justification, because I have a little justification today. Why am I being such a jackwagon? About 25 minutes before I went live, Johnny Scoville and I were standing on our balcony, and we saw a guy on a little motor scooter, not a motorcycle, but like a Vespa knockoff kind of a thing, that got off his bike and grabbed his girl by the throat and started shoving her up against a brick wall and just roughing this girl up. And Reese would like me to be a calmer and a gentler Scoville. And so I said to Johnny, we're going to walk down the stairs. And if that guy is still there, we're going to make sure this doesn't happen. If it's fixed itself by then that's a God thing, right? But when we got down there, he had not stopped. And he was now chasing her on this bike. And she was walking right in front of our condo. So we had to go out there and have words with this cat. And I do mean we had words with him. We didn't beat this guy up or anything else. We did, however, make sure that this girl could get home, right? Roberta, good to see you. Yeah, it is crazy, Lisa Palmer. And how long did it take? About 30 seconds. On the bright side, between Johnny and I, we were about 230 pounds heavier than him and at least 3 feet taller. But we talked him into to just driving home. Yeah, I may have also grabbed him by the shirt at one point, but it was nothing violent, I assure you. We just, we communicated. Johnny Scoville, on the other hand, was locked and loaded. He was, I think when Johnny reared back and kind of gave him a look like I'm about to bop this off of your forehead, he decided that driving home might be a better idea. But I'm still a little like this at the start, so I apologize. All the family members should have been talking about Nancy, trying to humanize her to her abductors, whether they really existed or not. Correct, right? Correct. That's what you are supposed to do. It doesn't make any sense. And I think anybody that follows true crime gets this, right? What in the deuce is this? I mean, honestly, that doesn't make any sense. That's a bad look. For real. What are you? You're avoiding the paparazzi? Did you have an album drop? Johnny, see what I did there? They had an album drop. It's probably because he's in that rock band. He's kind of popular and whatnot. This is an embarrassment. It's a bad look. It's not how you want to start having people look at you, right? You're also the last person to see her before she was abducted, right? Now, it is being reported that Neckbeard saw her all the way into the house. Yep, you're the only YouTuber who has said anything about Dominic and Tommaso across all YouTube. Obviously, you're the monster. See, Incognito knows. This is a smart and a dedicated true crimer. And truthfully, I have been leading this charge. In fact, can we compare some of the terrible stuff that I've done? A lot of people really have a much sort of kinder and more gentler way to look at this. Take this one, for instance. Son-in-law confesses, the truth revealed. Right? That never happened. Just didn't happen. Finally, son-in-law is now the prime suspect, right? All of these are just made up stuff. Final goodbye. Nancy Guthrie's son-in-law sentenced. Apparently, he's already on his way to prison. These are AI channels. These are the ones that actually are causing some serious problems. How about this one, right? George Will there, Johnny Scoville. Except it's not him. It's just a computer version of him. But he's going to tell you that the new cam footage release, it shows the suspect's face because he was kind enough to not wear anything and have a knife to her throat. If you can't see that carefully, let's blow that up a little. How's that look? Classy, right? But I'm the monster, right where the pamper sits. You know what I'm saying, Johnny?
I do.
I don't know that anyone else will get that reference, but if you do, then you do. These people are monsters. The people that are monetizing lies for the purpose of getting paid. Tommaso finally arrested. Well, thank goodness, huh? We got an arrest in this. I mean, we don't, but they're going to get paid on it. In fact, they're going to get paid more than me because I'm going to say rape. I'm going to say suicide. I'm going to say sexual assault. I'm going to say all the words you're not supposed to say. However, you can just print fake crap and nobody has any problems with that. Interesting. The optics are not good. They should have made a small video like Savannah and the brother, if only to clear their name. How about you don't even have to make a freaking video, right? All you got to do is on the way to your car, maybe don't hide. Maybe don't pull your hood down, lift your shirt up like this, like you're getting ready to rob a bank with sunglasses on. How about if on the way to the car, you just say, hey, you know what? Can you have a little respect for the family? We're all suffering right now. Maybe just give us a little bit more room. And please, if you see anything, report it. If anything looks strange, if you know anybody that has disappeared since the 1st of February, maybe report that because we need all the help we can get from you. Unless, of course, you're Nanos, because Nanos is now telling the world, don't send us any tips in unless you're sure of it. You got any idea how stupid that is, man? How about participate in a search for you-know-what's sake? Tahoe Trinkets, I got to go with you on this, man. I'm sorry, but I got to agree with this. Think of Elizabeth Smart's family, right? Think of all of the different times where they're out searching for people. You walk with them. You show up there. Is Neckbeard at this candlelight vigil? Because it would be a hell of a good look if he was. I have said this from the word go. Look for the people that don't act right. There's an 8 out of 10 chance it's family. That's just the statistics, right? So look for the people that don't act right. It's absolutely remarkable to me. Tommy, the abductors have an 84-year-old woman in their arms. Explain, please, what would expressing to the abductors that Nancy is a mother, a grandmother, a friend. To many, they are heartless. The gold standard is to try to humanize the individual, right? Because people that abduct for ransom or they abduct for whatever reason, usually ransom, they're looking at this person as a paycheck. I'm going to trade this person for X amount of dollars. You want to humanize them. You want to make the people that abducted them look like, she is just not a paycheck. She's a mother. She's had a beautiful life. She's a grandmother. People love her. Tommy, did you see the statement that Annie read on the same day as Cameron, but they did not release it because it was so strange? I did not, Hilaria. Where do I find that? Because I would love to see that. Robin, Ross, thank you so much for the super sticker. People, this is what keeps me being able to say whatever I want to say. And you guys have pushed this channel, which reminds me, 1,200 of you in here closing in on 1,300. Do me a favor, hit that thumbs up button. Boy, does it piss off YouTube when they have to push my videos. And absolutely hit the subscribe button and the bell for notification. I do true crime a little bit different. If you're brand new, if you're checking this out for the first time, I'm not a cop, never been a cop. Sadly, I spent my entire life as a criminal. Rue, good to see you. I spent my entire life as a criminal. That's not anything I'm proud of, I promise you. But that ended almost 20 years ago. And I've been living a pretty damn good life since. And I've been doing everything I can to try to leave the earth a better place than I found it, try to help people get sober. I would have responded to that bleeding heart comment with 5 words. I'll think whatever I want. Yeah, well, you know something? It's more than that, because I'm not just thinking whatever I want to think. I'm talking to a lot of people about true crime, and I understand why people want to call me a monster. I'm getting paid off of, other people's suffering. The difference is I'm not trying to BS anybody, and I'm not trying to get paid for stuff I'm not doing. There are a lot of people that will go live 3 times a day on this, repeat the same things over and over and over again for a paycheck. I'm trying not to go live if there isn't something to talk about. If we don't get a bombshell tomorrow, I'm going to be doing a show tomorrow night you are going to want to absolutely see, but it is not going to be on Nancy Guthrie. Thank you so much, John. My gut says it's the family. Your gut should say it's the family until they can tell us why our gut shouldn't say that, because abductions 8 out of 10 times are going to be family related. So why would we think anything else? Then you throw in some of the other stuff. Who was the last person to see Nancy before her abduction? Well, it was family, wasn't it? Who called 911? Who was the first person to the scene? Family, family, family. All the same family, right? All of this would have been Annie or Neckbeard. So each time you layer this on more and more and more. Thank you so much, What the Fox. Appreciate you. And it also kind of gets worse, doesn't it? Because then on top of that, after you've gone through the numbers game, you say, who's acting different? Who's acting in such a way that doesn't make sense? Does that make sense to any of you? Because it sure as shit doesn't to me, right? That doesn't make sense. Unless, of course, they're famous in some way we don't know, right? Or they got something to hide. Maybe you don't want the press to judge whether or not you're showing enough emotion, right? Legitimately. I mean, if you're someone that is involved in this crime, maybe you just don't want the press to see just how much you're acting strange. Annie's statement on a Megyn Kelly short from February 5th and other places on YouTube. Ilaria, I will check that out. You know what I find shocking is that if she did this statement, are you sure it's not just a clip of what she did with her sister? Because I have seen on Megyn Kelly where they took just her section of her reading and made it into a short, and it is odd. I mean, it is. However, I can't judge her for that because you're not using your own words. You've got somebody from the FBI there saying, here's what you have to say. And very often they're words that don't make sense, right? When she was going, mama. I mean, that's hard to listen to, and it's not how any of us would probably talk. But that doesn't necessarily mean that there's something wrong. New York Times reported that Dominic had a different record than what you're suggesting. Did you verify the actual record? Yeah, I did. Absolutely, I did. I pulled the guy's rap sheet, and he has been charged with burglary. He has been charged with robbery. Those are 2 things that he had on his record. The New York Times weren't really reporting. They were interviewing, correct? And I don't know. If I'm getting it wrong, it would be the first time I ever pulled a guy's record and read it wrong. In prison, you got to read people's records and decide whether or not they're allowed to walk away. You know what I mean? Or whether or not you're going to beat the piss out of them. I'm fairly good at reading a rap sheet. Mine is horrific. I have a really long rap sheet, but I'm pretty good at that. I'm pretty good at reading rap sheets. Do you think that in a few weeks, a tip will come in telling us where Nancy's body is? You can't collect an inheritance unless you prove Nancy is dead, right? Tommaso. I do think that, you know what? Tahoe Trinket says, thank you, What the Fox. I love it when that happens. See that? She's green, looking good and green. I think that this case is going to be solved, whether or not it's going to be in a few weeks. And we don't, there's a lot of people that do what I do who are coming out every day going, the reward went up to over $1,200,000, right? And $2,500 as well. But that doesn't mean, and they keep saying no tips are coming in. How do we know that? I mean, not for nothing, but how do we know that? How do we know they're not getting a buttload of them? And they're just now deciding that maybe it would have been a better idea to keep the cards close to the chest from the beginning. They didn't shut down the crime scene. And I don't care what anyone wants to say, right? They didn't shut down the crime scene. Where all of those people parked across the street, they're no longer there. Right now they've said you can't park on that street. You waited a month for that. You waited a month for that. How much tracking up of the crime scene happened? Because we don't know to this day, right? We don't know. Did they leave in a car? Did they force her to walk on foot to another street? We don't know any of that. Nevertheless, you got no problem with cars lined up for 2 miles down the road that she might have walked on. Does that make any sense to anybody? The mat wasn't taken. The door wasn't dusted. The things that they tell the press, like, hey, we got this super cool device that can track her pacemaker. Hey, check it out. We're going to track this guy because this backpack is sold at Walmart. So we're checking all the local Walmarts. This holster, right, is sold at Walmart. Why do we need to know that crap? Maybe tell us what door the person went in. Then you got neighbors who might go, oh, my cameras don't face anywhere near the street. But if this person was coming in the back door, maybe if they went through the woods to get to that back door, it makes people think in terms of crime. And if you knew how many cases have been solved by armchair quarterbacks and by internet sleuths, they're admitting right now, for the first time in a hot minute, there are people that are admitting, and it came out originally on ABC, that we saw 2 different people, right? There's one with a backpack. There is one without a backpack. Good Lord, I was far behind. There's one with a backpack and there's one without a backpack, right? And we have theorized a lot that it isn't the same person, right? By the way, you know how we keep talking about their eyebrows? We do know that this inverts, right? Johnny Scoville made a great point. If you look at the one on the left side of your screen, it looks like the eyebrow starts at the nose and goes all the way around the corner to the bottom of the person's eye. Do you see that? What we might be looking at is the stitching on the inside of that. That's a possibility. Because if you look at the one on the left, nobody has an eyebrow that goes around the entire eye. So if we're seeing the same thing on the one on the right, then maybe we have an issue and that we're not really talking about a pencil thin eyebrow. Maybe we're talking about stitching that we have been misinterpreting as eyebrow this entire time. It's hard to tell. It really is, because this is an inverted color scheme. You know the white holster that he's carrying? That's a black holster. You know, the backpack is actually a darker color. Anything dark is going to appear light and vice versa. But for the first time today, and it was announced on ABC, it might have been yesterday on ABC, but they're saying they believe now that there's more than one person involved, which is somewhat amazing to me. Hold on one sec. Yeah, why would they announce where SWAT goes out, right? That's a great point. Why would well, and some of it is they're chasing SWAT down. If Tommaso's involved, he would be conflicted. If they don't find the body, collecting inheritance would be a long haul. But if they do find the body, evidence may prove who did it. Yeah, that's got to be a tough position to be in. Whoever did this is dying. Absolutely dying right now. This has got to be really tough. Hey, Carolyn Hughes from Michigan. Look at JLR's unmoderated chat. Those tip lines are probably clogged with people calling or entering over and over lots of theories. It slows down getting to the good tips. You're right, Bad Mama C. 100% you're right. I mean, across the board. And that's actually a really, really smart comment. However, cops that are good at this have a person that takes every tip and goes, this is kind of stupid. This is kind of stupid. This looks like it's got legs. This is actually genius. And they put them into categories. They still work every one of them, right? But they divide them. Instead, you got Nanos now saying, unless you're sure, don't call. Right? Maybe articulate that a little better. Don't tell us you think the person's right or left-handed. Those kind of tips aren't going to help us. The kind of tips that will blah, blah, blah. Convictions without a body have happened. Absolutely they have. You do not need a body for a conviction. That used to be sort of the golden rule. It is not anymore at all. You absolutely can get a conviction without a body. Could be Saturday night was selected for abduction to have it be the church ladies to report her missing or go to her house the next day no earlier than 11 a.m. Interesting, Boston. It also was a night of a full moon, right? But the fact that this happened on 2 different nights, the first night that they went there, they weren't afraid that she was going to get a notification from the camera on the front door. She still gets notifications. On that system, you're going to get a notification, and for only 3 hours, that's going to be there, right? Ilaria, it could mean that. It is all those colors get inverted. Some dumbasses are pissed the cops are not calling tipsters to say thank you. I'm not surprised by that, especially in a case where we've got porn stars, gothic porn stars out shaking their ass in a miniskirt in front of the crime scene. this has become such a circus. Isn't the son a vet, ex-fighter pilot? Soldiers don't go around and search for your mother. It is Tatty chats. It's odd, but they also have gone out of their way, and by they I mean Nanos has gone out of his way to keep people from looking for this woman. Right? We have the Cajun army, these people that come down and specifically do for this. They look for bodies. They bring drones. They've had a lot of success. And I mean, admittedly, don't judge a book by its cover too often, right? This guy's got a beard down to here. He looks like he's in ZZ Top. He's got a mustache that goes all the way out to here. But I did a little deep diving on them, and they're actually super successful. They've done an awful lot of good over the course of their life. They're not even allowing people to organize private search parties to go out there. That could be a problem. Tommy, do you think Sheriff Nutsack has blown this crime scene so badly it will be useless in court? I think it'll be close to useless in court. I think that the only good news is if the evidence that they use is just inside the house, then that might be all right. However, the stuff on the outside of the house, if any of that is going to come into evidence, they're going to throw it out that fast. I mean, the defense will shred it because the crime scene's integrity outside the house has been decimated. Do you know it's within his purview to say, we're not going to allow anybody, right, within a mile of the crime scene? He literally can set up a perimeter and say, this is it. And people argued with me about this. I was in someone else's chat and they said, no, they can't do that. He just did. He just said no one can be on that road, right? He could have done that on day one. Well, that would have been a good call. Huh? That would have been a good call. Now, how much stuff has been thrown out by people that hang out there? Sodas, DNA everywhere, right? This is a shit situation. It really is. Could someone please get photos of all police officers in a 50-mile radius and compare these to see if it's a cop doing the crime? Cops in my neighborhood are criminals for murder. You know what? You're not the first person to say this. And if you think that my friend is off base, the number of cops that have been busted in crimes, it's incredible. This does happen, sadly. There are cops that take the route of getting more money. Sad but true. And they usually have a pretty good idea of how the whole process works so that they can work it in such a way that they're not going to get busted doing what they do. So it doesn't sound ridiculous to me. It really doesn't, Rick. Nanos told the media for tips, even if they think it's ET aliens. Yeah. And now, but anything that Nanos says, Nanos will back up later and come up with something completely different. For instance, when she didn't go to the local church called to say, why wasn't she there? That didn't happen. She was supposed to be going to one person's home. So all of us that were theorizing, we need a list of all those people in the church. We want to know who in that church made that call, because apparently she wasn't really going to church. So this looks really odd. If somebody from the church called, but she doesn't go to church, then we got an issue. Who the hell made that phone call? Well, that was misinformation, wasn't it? He also said that the family got there at 11 o'clock, but didn't make a phone call until 12:07 or 12:03. That isn't the case. They were only there 7 minutes before they made the phone call. So all of these things. And then he would say that Andy dropped off mom. No, Neckbeard dropped off mom. No, family dropped off mom. This kind of communication is horrible. Sheriff should get charges for tampering and destroying a crime scene. I agree with you. It won't happen, unfortunately. Vivian says, I think that Nanos is in on this. I wish I had $1 for every person that said that. I honestly think if I had $1 for every person that thinks he's in on this, I would be rolling in money. Anna Mirren, 2 pictures like the same person to me. Could you please point out the differences? Thank you. In the photo I just showed you, I'm not suggesting those are that very easily is the same person. I'm talking about the backpack photo versus the other one. And I'm not the one that says I think it's 2 different people. There are a lot of other people that do. And somebody in my chat has done a pretty bang-up job of showing someone that very much looks, when you see the glove going up, he played with the contrast, and you will see someone with a light. Could be a phone light, could be a bite light.
Somebody in the chat asked where the like and subscribe buttons are.
Where are the like and subscribe buttons? They should be right underneath my name. One of them will look like this, right? And then we'll have a little thing that says subscribe. And for the love of God, hit subscribe. Hit that like button and then hit the bell for notification. There'll be a little bell down there, and hit all so that when I go live, you will be able to tell about it. One head is fatter than the other. A lot of people have said that. Space G says 1,400 people in here. Smash that like button. That would be a really beautiful thing. It does really bother YouTube. And you know what? YouTube deserves to be bothered. In the first sheriff showcase, did he say something about getting a call Saturday night and we came to Nancy's house, or did I just hear it? No, you absolutely, that he screwed up the date the first time. And a lot of people have run with this, but it's like I had friends in prison that would say, hey, check this out, man. I really did the crime on the 21st of April. And they put down the 21st of May, like they screwed the number up. I'm getting off. I'm going to walk on this. As soon as I get in there, I can say on that day, and they would get into court and the judge would go, oh, apparently they wrote down the wrong day. I mean, you know, we tend to see stuff in movies and believe that it's the truth. I think he screwed up. I think the guy is completely inept. How do you get an hour and 7 minutes wrong instead of 7 minutes? That's massive. How do you release the crime scene at hour 30? And I'll tell you something. There's a lot of people that say, because once those letters came in about a ransom, he called off the search because now it's a ransom, right? You don't need to be searching for him. Wrong. Those didn't come in at hour 30. They came in a day after that. He called off the search and he released the crime scene back to them. Keep in mind, they just released the crime scene back to the family or announced that they were going to yesterday. But he was ready to do it at hour 30. He's inept. There's no other way to look at this. He is inept. And Taddy makes a great, great call. I still don't understand why the mat he stepped on the weeds and the flowers were all not taken in by the police. This is a great point. I mean, truthfully, this one ought to jump off the page at you. If you're into true crime, and Taddy obviously is, if this is something where you just go, holy hell, he stood on that mat with a bite light in his teeth, right? You hold something in your teeth like this and you're breathing, you are spitting out, right, droplets, whether you want to or not. And that's if you're looking forward. You start leaning down, I'm telling you, man, I'm a watchmaker. You can't have anything in your mouth when you're working on a watch, because when you look down with your head, you're just going to drool into what you're working on. It's going to screw everything up. But that's a great comment, Taddy. A lot of channels have have moderator for free speech. Tommy just blocks you if it's a complete asshat comment. Yeah, that's exactly right. Hey, look at that. That's exactly right. I am gonna shit can people that are stupid, and you'll hear me say it. And people get offended. You're too stupid to be in my chat. I'm sorry, but there are comments that don't make any sense. And after we've talked about them 25 or 30 times, and we've gone over these things, I got to trim this mustache. It's driving me nuts. Hello. Good to have you here. That is my girl, Relatable Reese. That would be that woman right there. That's our wedding night, by the way. Isn't that a great shot? And you know what's perfect about that photo is Reese can look beautiful, and I'm laying face down, so you don't have to look at me. But if you have not seen Reese's the show she did yesterday, don't trip, because we're going to be doing a show on the cult of Scientology. And if you don't know Scientology, or if you've seen the show that Reese did, you haven't seen Scientology until you've seen me interview her on it. Because I promise you, you want a crime? There is no crime in America worse than the cult of Scientology. I'm not kidding you. If you had any idea what goes on in that cult, I'm talking about from underage sexual assaults to abuse. And stop by. I think we're going to do it tomorrow night unless something breaks wide open in this case. And to be honest with you, I don't see that happening by tomorrow. How long ago did Dominic do the burglaries? A long time ago. I mean, by way of full disclosure, a long time ago. However, I haven't robbed a bank, done anything wrong in a very long time. I haven't been a criminal in a very long time. But I looked out the window and saw that guy grabbing a girl by the throat, and you'd be really shocked how fast I went right back into it. Let's go down there and hurt that dude, right? If it's something that you've done over the course of your life, there's going to be muscle memory there, and you could very easily fall back into who you are in the blink of an eye. Now, I'm not saying the guy did it. I'm not saying the guy did it. Truthfully, I'm not. I'm just saying he's got a hell of a resume. If I lived next door to Nancy Guthrie, I'd be a hell of a pick. I would be. Doesn't mean I did it. But on paper, I'd be a guy you'd have to take a damn good look at. You'd be like, there's a bank robber living next door to her. How many felonies does this guy got? Right? How much time did he do in prison? This would be, you play the numbers game until they start to eliminate people. And absolutely, the goal is to eliminate people, right? Start eliminating them. And if you're going to talk to people just in general, maybe don't talk to them. There's no problem with that. Or you have press conferences like they had in Coburger where you come out and say nothing, right? But at least there's an interface between you and the public, because when that interface doesn't exist, we believe you're scamming us. We believe that you're hiding stuff. Everyone does. It's human nature. Why the hell aren't they telling us about this, right? You remember when the shooting of, help me, I always forget his name, the famous guy that just got assassinated.
Kirk.
Yeah, when Charlie Kirk got assassinated, I have a block on Charlie Kirk's name. I don't know why. But when Charlie Kirk got assassinated and they don't know who the perp is, they put up a bunch of pictures of him. And we go, oh, they're going to tell us everything. Then they arrest the perp. You're not going to hear another word. And everyone's going, see the cover up? Now, why aren't they talking to us anymore? Because they never do. Find one case where after a person gets arrested, they keep giving you info about it. They're building a case to prosecute. They don't want the defense knowing what the prosecution is. That's standard operating procedure. It just is. I'm sorry. It really is. The 911 call treated her like a missing persons, making me wonder if sheriff's office was the ones to call APS for a welfare check protocol. I don't buy the neighbor called it in. Interesting. That is the report. However, once again, I don't believe Nanos is a doofus. Yes, he really is. I don't believe anything that Nanos says. Hey, Tommy, could you fix a 150-year-old pocket watch that my great-grandfather handed down? Absolutely. In fact, nothing in the entire world is more fun to work on than pocket watches. I even work on women's watches. And a pocket watch is like taking every gear in a woman's watch and blowing it up 30 times bigger. It's just absolutely, it's easy as hell to work on. Yeah, send me an email and tell me if you can show me some pictures of it. It would be really, really cool. And I can tell you everything you ever wanted to know about it. Tell you how many of them were made. I'm a walking encyclopedia of useless watch knowledge. I doubt they will ever find her. I'm sorry to say. Gary, I think that they're going through thousands of hours right now of videotape. Now, that could be from people that are within that 2-mile range, right? It could also be all of the traffic cams. It could be all of the ATMs. It could be all of the businesses. They will pull everything. Now, you have to go through that. Everyone's panicking that a lot of these agents got pulled back to Phoenix. Phoenix is the hub for the FBI. When the FBI was harassing me because trolls told them that Johnny and I were being bad people, they're going to come from the Phoenix office. They're not going to come from a Tucson office. So are they pulling people back? Yeah, but it doesn't mean they're leaving the case. You're not going to stay in Tucson to go through 1,000 hours of video. You go back to the center where you have all of the equipment and everything to do it. Just because they're pulling people from Tucson back to Phoenix doesn't mean that they're taking them off the case. It means that the case is evolving and they're no longer, that they have all of the stuff that they need to pull together, and now they're going to have to go back and go through it. And it's a slow process to put. You can't just load it into AI because people go, just put it into AI. A human being has to watch it, right? That's how it works. So, sure, you could speed it up a little bit, but if you pulled an ATM camera, you're going to have to go through a crap load of stuff to get to the time slot that you're looking for. Then you're going to have to go through that slowly. And if you see something that you think might be good, it gets passed on to someone else that verifies it. That gets passed on to someone that's going to use the computers and all that to enhance it. This could take a year. It could take 3 years. But I remember everybody when those bombings were happening in Washington going, boof, they blew that. Year and a half later, no chance of getting that. It took almost 5, right? But they tracked those people down. You can't get away with a crime of this magnitude in the United States in this day and age. You can't. There's too many cameras. There's too much technology. They can crawl up your butt in a way that you cannot imagine, right? There are people, I get comments from people that say, aren't every single phone call monitored? No. There's 350 million people in the United States. They would have to have 350 million agents. There is a computer program, allegedly, sometimes it's called Excelsior, is what they use for the name. And if you say the words that I can't say on here, like terrorist or bombing or things like that, that's going to flag you. And then they will start to record that automatically, allegedly, or it's going to send it to someone who's going to now monitor you. But every phone call is being recorded, and it's being sent to a place in Bountiful, Utah. That's just a server farm, over 1 million square feet of servers. and they collect all of that information. Then if they have to go and get a warrant later, they can go and grab your stuff from a while back if they want to. And this isn't speculation. It happened to me in my case. They went and grabbed text messages I had sent 4 years earlier with emojis and all of it, printed out on a piece of paper and brought to me. I promise you this exists. Did law enforcement tell the neighbors that there was no threat to them? No, but I think that not in so many words. However, there isn't, in my opinion, any threat to them. There isn't anything before this. This would be the first, if it's a crime spree, this would be the first abduction of somebody this age. And they didn't steal anything. They didn't hit any other houses. Normally, first of all, normally people that rob homes at night or burglars, even that rob them during the day, they don't go in alone. Those burglaries are almost always done with at least 2 people, sometimes 3. It's a team of people that go in and do this. But usually they hit more than one house. This is such a out of nowhere thing that they believe it very much was targeted. If you could see the Catalina foothills, that to just drive through the neighborhood, if you're just looking for a house, hers is closer to the street than any I've ever seen. Like if Reese could tell you, or my brother could tell you where we were, you would drive up a driveway and you would be 150 yards from the main road. You could go up there and there's no chance of anybody seeing anything that you do. If you were just randomly picking a house, they chose poorly. And to come across a house in the Catalina foothills, you have to know what you're looking for. I don't think they randomly picked this house. There's reason to believe they went and cased it first. You all right? Why aren't they dredging lakes now? That's an interesting question. I would imagine that eventually, if they get to that point, but I think that this is probably a case where there's a lot of stuff. There's a lot of stuff going on that we don't know about. There's a lot of stuff. They're chasing leads that we're never going to hear about. But I would imagine that there at least is a direction in this. I know a lot of people keep saying this case has gone cold. There were 50,000 leads. When there is not one lead left to work, a case has gone cold. Any other channel that tells you anything other than that is lying to you. I promise. Well, after 60 days, it's a cold case. No, when there is not another lead to work, it's a cold case. And then that doesn't mean that they quit. It means that you go back to the beginning and you start and you rework leads that you already worked and you keep doing stuff. But until, what's that? Get new eyes on it, have people look at something in a different way. But I promise you that as long as there are leads to work, the case is not cold. I work on all of Reese's watches. And she has a fairly large collection because the dude she's boning has a huge watch collection. And every time she leaves, she steals a few. I'm kidding, but I have given her a lot of watches. Reese loves watches. It's something that we have in common. Do I build watches to sell? I do. A lot less than I used to, but yes, I do. And do me a favor, go over there and hit subscribe at the Johnny Scoville's channel. That would be Chase the Heat. There are like 9,000 videos you can go through. Check out the challenges. Those are the ones that will blow you away. And it's fun to watch him eat the hottest peppers on planet Earth. What was it, 10 of them? Yeah. While falling out of an airplane. He went skydiving and ate 10 Carolina Reapers on the way down. Why were the bad guys in the house for so long? Well, that's a really interesting question, man. Yeah, tip is not a theory. It is a very interesting question. And my only thought as a criminal is if you had a bunch of devices in the house, showing up at that house and trying to remove that camera or doing any of that, you're going to have an alert on your device, and that alert will be there for 3 hours. So maybe they were going into all of those devices and trying to eliminate stuff. There are people that have speculated that maybe they were looking for paperwork. There have been a lot of different speculations. There are people that suggest that she was sexually assaulted and raped during that period of time. That to me doesn't hold up. It's a difficult thing to do something like that and not leave a crap load of DNA. Even if you're using condoms and doing all that, all of the stuff they had on, they would have had to disrobe enough, right, to pull their junk out. And that's the kind of thing that leaves evidence behind. And they look older to me than the normal age for somebody to be sexually assaulting somebody 84. Again, we've talked about this a lot on this channel, but for whatever reason, it seems that the older the victim, the younger the perp. And it almost always is that way. Of course, there's cases that don't make sense, but for the most part, it's almost always that way. Why haven't they said anything about the inside cameras since day 3? Really interesting question, isn't it? They say nothing was stolen. So it's weird in a house that long. It really is. It's really weird to be in a house that long. Were they cleaning up? Right? Here's one of the reasons that we all speculate on this so hard, right? Because number one, it doesn't make sense. But number two, we've been given nothing to go on this. Not one person listening to me, right, myself included, has any idea what happened inside the house. We don't know if she was attacked in the bedroom. We don't know if the person went through the back door or the front door, right? None of these things are etched in stone because they've given us nothing on this case that they should have. And you don't have to give us a lot of it. If you just came out and said, yeah, the perps entered the back door, right? Or the perps entered the front door. That's not something that's really hard to give up. They instead tell us how they're going to track the person down. I heard a theory floated that the guy is actually Columbo in disguise and that he knows who did it and is letting everyone think he's stupid so he can lull the guy into a false sense of security. Gary Meeks, I'm telling you, it's as good a theory at this point as any other. You and Reese have fashion on lock. I love seeing the style you both have. Two pretty awesome people. It seems though I am kind of new around here. Stephanie, I love that. Reese has an amazing style, and I'm just an old dude. But Reese really is a sort of a style icon. And baby, if you didn't hear it earlier, someone said that you give off Stevie Nicks vibes. And you know what that does to me, don't you? I'll ask it this way. Do you think the neighbors feel that they are in danger? I don't. Nevertheless, the number of people that have gotten big dogs since this happened are absolutely that's gone through the roof. There are people that are getting a bunch of big dogs. The sale of firearms in Tucson has gone through the roof. Security systems are getting upgraded because people do this. But I don't think anyone believes that this is a random occurrence. It seems very targeted, Rue. So I don't think that many of them think that they're in danger. But I think all of them, like, you know, now that this has happened, they start going, yeah, it's probably time to upgrade all of this because we wouldn't want this to happen to any of our loved ones. But no, I don't think that anyone thinks that they're in danger. Why has Harvey Levin's pen pal vanished? Asked for $63K but can't use $1 million. Boston Freebird. What a great question, right? I said this to Johnny today. You had a real stiffy for 50 grand and then you upped it to 100,000, but you can get $1 million paid in cash because it's just another hoax. It's just one more person that is trying to get paid. Rue, thank you. Great question. You know she had expensive jewelry. Yeah, I guarantee you she did. Guarantee you there was at least one Rolex in there, right? Guaranteed. And that's just the kind of thing that is pretty easy to move. And it's a lot of money. You know what I mean? A woman's Rolex, you're looking at a very expensive trinket that would take you about 15 minutes to sell. And if you knock 20% off of the price, you're still going to get $5,000 to $7,000 for it. You know, you're not leaving that behind. You're not going to leave behind fentanyl strips either. You're not going to leave behind gold. Anything that is super, super easy to get rid of that don't, you know, you don't have to worry a whole lot about serial numbers and whatnot.
They showed up with a full backpack. They weren't looking.
Johnny Scoville makes a good point. He says it a lot. They showed up with a full backpack, right? If you're robbing a house, you show up with an empty backpack and you leave with a full backpack, not the other way around. People have theorized that maybe there was a tarp in there. Some people have theorized that maybe they had clothing to put her in so that they could have her look a specific way. It's hard to tell, but that backpack doesn't look empty to me. Hold on one second, people. No, I didn't even.
I trimmed mine about an hour ago.
My mustache is absolutely driving me crazy. It really is. Nina, thank you so much, Nina. I really appreciate all the support. You have been very, very consistently here with the support, kind of like Rue. A lot of you have. It's amazing. It's humbling. It really is. Did you ever find out why they cleaned the pool right afterwards? Well, here's the rumor that people are saying, that they absolutely did that because they were wanting to go through the filter drain to see if there was anything in there. However, there's nothing anywhere that has been said by anybody to back that up. In fact, the only thing that I could find in way of even remotely a statement on this was that they wanted to clean the pool, because it's scheduled to be cleaned on a regular basis. So they just said, is it going to be a problem that they do this? And of course, this guy doesn't have a problem with people walking onto the front yard to dig a hole looking for the body. I don't imagine he's going to care too much about people that are trying to clean. Body bags in the backpack. Yeah, a lot of people have said that, but once again, I believe her heart was beating when she left. The base device would have told us that it was going like this and trying to get the heart back into rhythm. It didn't tell us that. So I don't think you put a living person in a body bag. And if you were to put her in a body bag and zip her up, then you don't leak blood, right? A body bag will keep blood inside it. You zip that thing up and carry it with the zipper up, and she wouldn't be leaking all over the place. So it could be, people have also speculated that maybe it was a tarp. Just part of the disguise and gun holster for, you know what? That's not such a bad, Johnny said this the very first time he saw it. And again, sadly, this is kind of the fruits of a misspent youth, but we spent time doing stupid things. First of all, you sure as hell wouldn't have a backpack that has reflectors on it like you're a crossing guard in the 6th grade, right? That's the last thing you want. Having a backpack that has a name brand on it, right? A gangster would get rid of the name brand. A real thief would get rid of the name brand. Use a seam ripper, cut that off so that it's not instantly identifiable. Like they did some things that looked like they knew what they were doing, and then they do some things that are just so stupid. You know what I mean? Having a bite light in your mouth, eventually you're gonna have to take that out of your mouth. It has saliva all over it. What good are your gloves if you get saliva all over them, right? And how did they not touch anything with that Nanos and his crew and even the FBI couldn't find? I think there's a decent chance that they did find that stuff. And John, I think you're right. Johnny Scoville feels the same way. This is more of a disguise than it was anything else. This doesn't look like, normally you wear black. On a walk through blood, one can clean a pool, right? The number of people that walked right up to the front door, how bad can the pool cleaner be, right? Interesting.
Well, someone said they clean the pool every week. I think if a person was kidnapped, they'd put that off until it was.
You would think so. But the family said the pool cleaner's going to come, and they didn't stop it. They sure as hell could have, but they'd never put up any kind of a perimeter. They didn't put up crime tape. They should have blocked the whole street off, maybe 1,000 feet anywhere near it. In my theory, the blood was caused when she was brought home, not when she left. Well, allegedly, Ilaria, the blood, when she was brought home, she went in through the garage, right? This is what we have been told. She went in through the garage, then flicked the porch light as in the front as a way to tell everybody, I'm in, I'm safe, and then they drove off. Allegedly, Neckbeard saw her go in through the garage, so she never went through the front door. But hard to tell. Yeah, you would do the robbery in the daytime. That honestly, that jumps off of. Ilari says, I don't believe that. I don't blame you. I really don't blame you. If this was any other case, I'd go, what do you mean you don't believe that? But we haven't been told anything that's the truth. So I'm not going to bag on that. No, Tara, I agree. Nothing has been solid on this, right? Nothing has been solid on this. I also read today, if you take the base with you as if you were staying the night, it would stay connected until you were out of range. Absolutely. If she never took the watch off, it would still be, for her, the base was not a phone, it was a watch. So if she stayed within 40 feet of that watch, it doesn't matter where she goes. She will go from Wi-Fi network to Wi-Fi network. When she's not on the Wi-Fi, it will hop off of that and be on cellular service. But it's never going to not be uploading information to that until that time that you get it separated away from there. That is a fact, according to the doctor I talked to. And there's Relatable Reese. That is my girl. Stop by and hit subscribe. You will thank me later. The protest she did at Scientology will take your breath away. It will probably make you cry too. Yes, it was the watch Tahoe trinkets, and it was left behind.
So were your hearing aids.
So were her hearing aids.
Apparently she was dead.
Well, Lisa Palmer, they did not allegedly, right? Allegedly, they said that it did not they opened the garage door at 9:48. The garage door was open for 2 minutes, right? That is what we have been told from the very first day. Could they be wrong? You bet. Guy hasn't been right about anything. For real, man. If Nanos told me today was Sunday, I would have to go and check, regardless of whether or not I went to church this morning. If Nanos said today was Sunday, I would check with somebody. That's just kind of how it goes. I read the iWatch loses connection to the pacemaker at 30 feet. They could have put the watch on the other side of the house. They could have. They absolutely could have. I had heard 30, 40, either way. That is a big enough house but that distance that they're talking about is based on what that particular style of Bluetooth does. And allegedly, or supposedly, that is one of those things that, so your earbuds would be the same way. And I can take my earbuds out of this place, down the stairs, outside, and get halfway across the street before it disconnects from the base. Now, with this device here, I got about 30 feet. If I go 2 rooms away with this thing, I'm not going to get it to link up anymore. So even though in theory they should all be kind of the same, they're not. If you leave your theory in the comment afterwards, if I've been missing it, I apologize, but our chat rate is cooking. So if that's my fault, I'm really, really sorry. But if you leave it afterwards, I will pop in there and check on it, I promise. Missing in Tucson, Arizona since 1/31/26. Miss Nancy Guthrie is 84 years old, 5'5", 150 pounds with brown eyes, gray hair. I'm sorry, brown hair, brownish gray hair, blue eyes. She has limited mobility and relies on daily medications, 200,000 and 2,500 FBI reward and 1 million from the family, which they say you can now do anonymously. You do not have to. You don't necessarily have to come forward with this. If you want to remain anonymous, you can be paid in cash. They are making this so damn easy for anyone that wants to not get involved, but still wants to do the right thing. And you know something? Somebody knows something. I promise you, you didn't do this and then go right back to work, right? Well, if you had a job, you're not going to pull this lick and go back to work and act normal. So look at the people in your life. If you happen to be in the Tucson area, if you happen to be in the Phoenix area, look at people in your life and say, man, Johnny Scoville has acted weird as hell since February 1st, or whoever that person happens to be, because someone is acting weird. And I'll tell you something, even if you're tangentially involved, if you're somebody that they said, hey, I just need you to do X, Y, or Z for me, because normally people that do these kind of crimes borrowed something. They ask somebody there's never just the people that pull it off. They're always stupid. They always have a couple of hangers on, or people that at least know what's happening. $1 million, right? Call in and say, hey, can you get me witness relocation? I bet they'd pull it off for you. Do we know if the garage door opened with a remote, keypad, app, or all of the above? We know that it was either a remote or a keypad, and that's the only thing that they've told us. When I was in Tucson, everyone I know had a keypad on the side that would lift up. That's how I always got into my house. And in fact, everybody I know goes through the garage. Weird, but one of those things. Interesting. I wonder if Dead Karen Storage was a code for something, and that was Neck, Beard, or Dominic. Well, if so, come on back. I'd love to do an interview with you. In fact, that's the only reason I would let you back on my show. If it's one of you and you're still watching, you piece of vermin, my fault. It's my fault. Well, I'm that guy. I'm a monster. Isn't that what they said, monster? I'm a monster. Well, I might be, but not for that. In my opinion, this is not as it seems. They know who did it. What's that? The guy on the motorcycle thinks I'm a monster. That's funny. Just a hunch, but do you think someone associated with the crematorium could help get rid of whoever's wanting to get rid of her? It doesn't sound harsh. That's what Drew Peterson told me and another person that he did with Stacy Peterson. The reason that they've never found her, according to Drew Peterson, talking directly to me, was that he had her cremated. In my opinion, this is not as it seems. They know who did it. They need more evidence yet. Lisa, I'm leaning in that direction. Honest to God, I am. There are a lot of people that are saying, you know, the prosecution went out there just because they want to make sure they do a walkthrough before they turn the house back over. I don't buy that. I think we're seeing a shift. and that shift is they're getting ready for this. No, Lacey was not Drew Peterson. That was Scott Peterson's wife, and she was found in the ocean. This is Drew Peterson, the cop from Chicago, and his wife, Stacy, has never been located. I hope Lisa's right, too. You just ordered an allegedly mug for your coffee. You'll never regret it. Because when people say, why does it say allegedly on your mug? You can go, that's allegedly. Band members use bite lights for setups. Sorry, I keep repeating this because I think it's a good point, and you have so many responses. No, I appreciate you repeating it. Sometimes this is the first time I've seen it, Fresh Air. Love the name, by the way. But that's actually a really decent point, and it's not something I had thought of. I thought about mechanics. I thought about electricians. But yeah, band members. I could see that backstage. That actually makes a lot of sense. Confuzzled. There's a word that doesn't get enough use. Yeah, the star on his jacket. I don't know what to make of that. I really don't. There was a lot of who was that criminal with the pig farm? Oh, man, you're going to drive me crazy. Oh, you're going to drive me crazy. I know exactly who you're talking about. It'll come to me in a second. Or it'll come to Johnny Scoville. He's pretty good at this. I think they might know all involved, watching known suspects to lead him to the others. It is a really big deal to make sure that Pinkton. There you go. Pinkton was the one with the pig farm. Yeah, the star on the jacket is really unusual. There are people that are saying that star comes back to a security company. There are other people that say Nike has a jacket with a star on it. I've never seen that particular setup, but I find it interesting, right, that that we're not hearing more about that. Your best friend, my best friend and I owned a business together. Drew Peterson was her husband's boss. Well, I'll be damned. He's a bad man. I knew him personally. We worked together in prison. Have any of these people never heard about headlights? Well, I'm a fan of the headlight. I should get an allegedly gig for TV. Unfortunately, where I live, that might not happen. Guion didn't have a pig farm. No, he did not. It wasn't Guion. And that's not what Johnny said. Neptune, thank you so much. Look at that kitty. That is a good-looking cat. Is it not? I love cats. They are superior to everything. And there was also a woman that had a pig farm. She does one of the nastiest interviews in the entire world. She literally drops a deuce on a chair while they're interviewing her. Eee. Really, really foul. Yes, why aren't you subscribing to Relatable Reese? Don't make me get angry. I'll find out where you live. I've got priors. There are 1,455 of you in here. Do me a favor. Hit that like button. Let's all piss off YouTube together, shall we? And then hit subscribe and hit the bell for notification. And if you have not subscribed to Johnny Scoville and to my wife, you will thank me later. Was she the woman in the pizza delivery thing? No, Tara. She looked more like a guy. She said that a man committed suicide at her pig farm and the pig ate him. He shot himself in the head. What was it, 7 times? Yeah. He shot himself in the head 7 times to commit suicide. And then she dropped a deuce, literally took a dump on the chair in the interrogation room. Special woman. I have 2 cats. I don't like them, but I love them. Well, that's every cat owner. Squirrel Nut Zipper pisses me off like nobody on earth. And she just, every single time I set this computer up, she looks at me and I'll go, don't do it. Don't do it. And she comes and jumps on top of, Pinkton was one of ours. Canadian. Yep. True story. I have a new theory. Nancy never made it to her house after leaving Annie's house and allegedly being dropped off. I know it was her blood splatter in the front, but it could have been planted. It could have been. Not too far-fetched. All right, Jen? Not too far-fetched, but here's the problem. When that base, so when her watch travels around, if it's not on Wi-Fi, it will still reach out and touch Wi-Fi, and you'll get a footprint from it attempting, even if that Wi-Fi is password protected. It's still going to, you're going to be able to track it. But allegedly, when it's separated from the base, it was hooked up to the Wi-Fi at her house, not Annie's. So, because that was my theory from Jump Street. My theory from Jump Street was they never made it back. Yeah, Rick, I don't know what to make of the star. And I also don't know what to make of the fact that they're not chasing it down more.
I think it's done to throw people off. If you're going to kidnap somebody, would you do that?
Well, and I have a difficult time with the star for a couple of reasons, right? The Uber was a ruse. Well, there is an Uber driver, and that Uber driver was a woman, and that woman has been put through the ringer and has come back to sort of to come up as not a suspect. I don't know whether she took a polygraph or whatever, but there was a woman who was an Uber driver, and she picked Nancy up, and then she dropped Nancy off. So that did happen. We don't know the answer to that, Keith, and a lot of people have speculated. Does Annie have a camera at the house? That would really help, wouldn't it? But we don't know the answer to that. Jen, thank you so much. And I'm not bagging on your theory, by the way. That was my theory. I loved that theory. That made more sense to me than anything else, that she never got home. Yeah, the star, Rick, I don't know what to do with it. When you see it, it looks like it has red piping around it. So it looks to me like this would be very easy to trace. But we're hearing nothing from them on this.
Which means they probably have some.
The star is not on his jacket. It's in the still photo. So you're saying it was put on there, Grain? Because it is what?
I disagree.
Yeah, I don't know. In my theory, Tommaso did not stay in the car. He walked her to the front door and hit her head while she was getting out to get her keys. Ilaria, that's an interesting... It's not a Converse or a Nazi star, is it? I don't believe so. Did I already ask about the guy chain smoking cigarettes in front of the dealership? Not sure if I'm having deja vu. You haven't asked that, but that doesn't mean you're not having deja vu. The guy that was chain smoking in front of the, that would be his name is Zach. He owns MG Motors. And they did report that he was out there having a bad time smoking cigarettes. But allegedly, they have ruled him out. However, I don't believe anything Nano says. So they could be building a case against him right now. I don't believe anything that they say. And my wife says, come by and hit subscribe at Relatable Reese's. You absolutely should. She's my Valentine. She's my wife. She's my favorite person on earth. She's that hottie right there in that photo that at least once a day somebody gets offended by. And if you are offended by that, go past the water cooler and you'll see a sign that says exit. We're not at an airport. You don't even have to announce. Interesting. Most pacemakers upload at 1 to 3 a.m. and it just didn't get the update. Interesting. Now I'm going to have to research that. The star is just an AI enhancement slap. It's not. It's just the buckle. See, I didn't see that. A lot of people said this, but I didn't see that. Did anyone else hear this and see this? It's an AI enhancement slop. It's just the buckle from the backpack chest strap. I heard people discuss this. To me, it did not look like it was on the strap at all, but I could be wrong. Mark Twain loved cats too, Tommy. He once wrote, if man could be crossed with a cat, it would improve man, but deteriorate the cat. It absolutely would. It would absolutely destroy cats. CM, I get it. I get it. A lot of people are getting burned out on this. It's hard to continue on a case, especially when things are happening. I'm not sure I believe the 40 minutes inside the house anymore. The time is based on this disconnect, but then there is motion later. The motion later, though, doesn't have anything to do with the pacemaker, right? So the way that it happens is allegedly, supposedly, that camera that they pulled off of the wall was continuing to work because it was close enough to the base, and that sent a notification. However, we don't know if that's the truth. We don't know if it was another camera because they don't give us dick for information. And this is what causes all of the stuff. Yes, I heard what the nurse said on JLR. But by describing the shape of the pacemaker and the fact that it was a little bit smaller than somewhere between a 50-cent piece and a $1 piece, round in nature, the doctor that I spoke to said it would be uploading nonstop. It would be uploading to the base nonstop. That uploading that they talk about is going to the hospital. It's going to take it off of that base and upload to the doctor's office or whatever, and they get that upload every single night. But nonstop throughout the day, anything that happens on your chest is going to go to that watch. That's what he told me. If Tommaso at the house with the FBI the other day, I know no one can verify that I have heard, but I've heard a lot of people speculate on it. So that woman that offered free rides to YouTubers streaming outside of Nancy's was an Uber driver. That rings sus. Oh, is that the one you were talking about? Yeah, that does seem odd. I can imagine it would. Yeah, Savannah does say in her last video that mom was taken from her bed. And you know what? That's something that Nano said in the very beginning. And when people asked him questions about it, he went, oh, no, it's an expression like roused from bed. He's just such a jackwagon. You know what I mean? The misinformation makes this more difficult. And I know I'm going to get comments. They don't owe you anything. Then shut up and don't give us anything. But don't give us two stories in 10 minutes on two different interviews, because that makes us think you're an idiot. I can imagine it would take a while to get a very frightened 84-year-old woman out of a deep sleep, up, maybe dressed, etc., and out the door. Naturally, she would have been hysterical. I would imagine that she would have, right? And they also didn't take her hearing aids. And from what I understand, she would have been really bad off in terms of being able to hear if she didn't have them. Yes, research the pacemaker. I think it could have separated any time before 2:28, but still be in the home far enough away from the watch. Tells a lot about the timeline. The timeline is so screwed up, and it just continues to get screwed up. I have a question. Anyone that takes multiple meds daily usually doesn't take them from individual bottles. They put them into daily boxes, right? That's always been my experience. That's what my dad did. Big ass box about this big that says Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. That's usually how most people that take a lot of meds do it. It's way, way easier to organize that way. And when they said all of her pills were on the counter, I assumed that that's what they meant. I'm sure there were pill bottles there too. Do you think they would have put extra fentanyl patches on Nancy to subdue her? I hope she was not fully aware. Here's the thing about giving any kind of so fentanyl is an opiate, right? Opiates are respiratory depressants. Benzodiazepines like Valium, Xanax, what do you call it? Ativan. All of those things are also respiratory depressants. So it makes it doesn't just slow down the breathing. What it does is it relaxes it. So if somebody is just whacked on heroin and sleeping, and you go up and plug their nose and hold their mouth, they're not going to wake up. They're not going to go and panic, because it's such a respiratory depressant that when you normally get to that, if you stop breathing in your sleep, we've all seen somebody with sleep apnea, and they literally stop breathing, and then they go and they sit up like this. Opiates will relax that so much that you will just go to the other side and never wake yourself up. It's a tremendous amount of danger to dope up on someone that's 84 years of age, right? They're not, their diaphragm and all of that isn't working the way somebody in their 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s would be doing, right? An octogenarian, if you were to slap a couple extra fentanyl patches on there, there's a really good chance that she isn't going to wake up, right? It's going to be something that's going to kill her. I know there's been a lot of speculation that people have said, it would be very, very easy to just take, something like, what do you call that stuff that you put on a rag? Johnny Scope? Chloroform, right? If you put chloroform, people would say, what if you put chloroform on a rag? You put chloroform on somebody 84, the odds of them waking up are really bad. Also, it works great in movies. You take chloroform, you put it on someone's face. There's a science to that crap. How long do you hold it on their face? How many inhales do you let somebody take? you can get away with doing this to somebody that's in their 20s, or do it with ether. But you do this to somebody in their 80s, and there's a really good chance you're going to kill them, because once they go out, they're going to stop breathing, and there isn't going to be that reaction to sort of get them back. I think that drugging her, maybe they did. Maybe that's why it never got out of the first time. This has been chased down viciously. What's the story of the 911 call? The lady screaming out of a car not long after she was taken. Is that real or some fake? No, that's absolutely real. However, they know who made the call. They researched it. They put a bolo, be on the lookout for the blue, I think it was, what was it, Cobalt? Might have been a Cobalt. I can't remember the exact car, but it was a blue Chevy. And they put a be on the lookout for that car, pulled that car over. So that lead got chased down. It was not Nancy Guthrie. But Nancy Grace, talked about that and talked about how everything needs to be chased down. I think sometimes these people will, Tim Trimble, pacemakers don't call 911. That's not how they work. That would be lovely, but they don't do that. They just hook up to the base, and the base is just taking notes. That's all it's doing, is keeping track of everything that happened before that. That could be, right? This is actually fairly logical, because we don't know, right? They've given us nothing. We don't know where the blood was found inside the house. We don't know where they entered. We don't know where they exited. He said that there were signs of a struggle inside the house, right? But at the same time, I don't know. Everything about the beginning of this was such a shit show. And if you're a retired PD, this has got to be driving you nuts, right? This has got to be driving you nuts. No crime scene tape. No control of the crime scene at all. Releasing the crime scene back to the family at hour 30. YouTubers walking up to the front door. People delivering pizza to the front door. What do they call them? Porn stars, right? Gothic porn stars dancing at the crime scene. Two ladies from Mexico walking onto the crime scene to start digging in the front yard looking for Nancy. This is a shit show of epic proportion. The front mat wasn't taken. All of the flowers that were grabbed, right? The sticks that were used, in theory, some people say to cover the camera. Some people are saying to pry it off the wall. There was a stick in the housing. I would believe that they pried it off, but none of that was collected. Why would you not collect that stuff, right? This has just been you could call it a comedy of errors, but there's nothing funny about this, because there's somebody out there missing, right? This is real. On the Hill, thank you. My profile pic is with Danny Trejo. I met Danny too. A good guy like you now. Thanks for the commentary. Danny Trejo is an amazing human being. He really is. He volunteers a lot of time to go to prisons and talk to people who are trying to get sober. Charlotte says, I have 2 search and rescue dogs. I promise they could have showed which way that woman went out. You know what? They allegedly they used a couple of dogs to sniff that shirt of hers that you saw, which they then just discarded on the walkway. Again, from a police standpoint, like, what does this do to everyone? You got people filming 30 feet away, and they're looking at a blouse that belongs to Nancy, discarded on the front walkway. What is it? I mean, the whole world's going, oh my God. It just seems like everything they did on this was just sad, right? They taped her mouth. If they taped her mouth, she could have died from not getting enough air, especially if she had sleep apnea. That could have been a kidnapping gone wrong. There's so many ways that they absolutely could have accidentally killed her. Unfortunately, that's the truth. And I love the photo, and thank you so much for the support. And folks, you got to get over there and hit subscribe to Relatable Reese's channel. I'm telling you, when you see the war against the cult of Scientology, unless you're a Scientologist, if you have no idea what that, which one is that? Which one's a bunch of BS, Charlotte Hyde? Help me out. I mean, I say a lot of things, and there's a 40-second delay. So unfortunately, I don't know what you're calling BS on. The handling of the door cam was their biggest mistake. I don't know. I think not securing the crime scene was the biggest mistake. That's the biggest mistake. The ability for people to just walk up there and walk around and taint that is absolutely unconscionable. Why is Scientology not investigated? Because they have a policy, and I'll let Reese tell you more about this when I interview her, but they have a policy called You know what? I can't think of anything now because I'm wondering. The dogs that they had. Oh yeah, the fact that all of that, Charlotte Hyde, was called off as fast as it is just depressing, right? They didn't really put any effort into this at all, or so it seems, right? How do you call off a search at hour 30? How? But they have a policy called fair gaming at the Church of Scientology. And anyone that goes after them, they'll go through your trash. They'll write newspaper articles about you being a child molester. They'll call the police. By any means necessary, they try to make sure that you stop going after them. And they've been very successful with that. I have been asking if law enforcement looked into anyone that rented many backhoes or bobcats, pre-dug a hole if planned ahead of time. Interesting, Keith. Interesting. Yeah, this is no one else has either, Ilaria. That's a very interesting take, and I wonder if they're doing that because that actually makes sense. Is the Tom Cruise rule for the church? Everything about that cult is just disturbing. Yeah, Ilaria, no one's ever heard of that. It's just depressing that a pizza was allowed to be walked to the front door. That guy who got pulled over was begging to be stopped by the look of it. Yeah, you know what? Any of us in the chat had a few beers, we would get nailed first, second time around. Black not 100 times begging to get stopped. Well, apparently it was weed, not beers, but you're right. It seemed odd. And he's holding up a camera with a picture of Nancy's face on it. You know what I mean? Like if you're riding around and there's a picture of Nancy on your phone, you think that probably would have gotten done. Hold on one second. Sorry, folks. My allergies are absolutely killing you. Weed makes you more alert, says Sam Lamb. Well, I would rather have you smoking weed than drinking beer if you're driving around, to be sure. But in a perfect world, I think I'd probably be happier if you just weren't on anything. I smoked a lot of weed and, I did a lot of every drug. But I don't think any of them made me particularly a better driver. I was usually a better driver if I was sober. It just didn't happen very often, unfortunately. Just heard today that Nancy had her home up for sale late 2024 for some time. What about someone that looked at the home that time and knew the layout? No, it's not crazy at all. That is absolutely not crazy at all. I think that is it seems to me that whoever went in there would have, they're way better off if they know the layout of the house. If you're going into a home at night, you'd want to know where the bedroom was because that's your threat. That's the only threat. I'm a victim of police corruption, so I believe anything is possible in this case. Oh, I could tell you stories. I really could. And then look, I was committing the crimes anyway, but the things they did to get me locked up were definitely not legal. In my opinion, they called off the search at hour 30 based on whatever they witnessed in the house. MJ, that is one of the only things that makes sense, right? It's one of the only things that makes sense. However, since they gave us nada, literally nada, any information at all about what happened inside that house, we're all left to speculate. And then he'll bitch that we're all speculating. Like it's new to him that there is a true crime community that is into this, right? If it weren't for the true crime community, Gabby Petito's case wouldn't have been solved, right? There's a lot of cases out there that these armchair quarterbacks actually make a big difference in. I think that they have to get a lot better at handling things. I think it was a tragedy and a travesty that the live streamers and all of the people, and I'm not mad at them. I would have been out there too if I still lived in that area. I would have been. However, no one should have been out there. It was just horrible that people were able to set up right there and just live stream and have drones flying overhead. If you don't think that the people that did this weren't watching everything that these people were live streaming, if they were on the way to the house, they could look at the streets going by and go, holy shit, they're coming here. This is such an abortion of a case. The way this has been handled is so bad. It's horrifying. Allegedly, the weeds were on top of the blood drops. I suspect Nancy reneged on moving in with Annie and Tommaso is why the house was removed from the market, which infuriated him. That's a hell of a theory, to be honest with you. That's a hell of a theory. No DNA, no body, no crime. Yeah. They will end up I promise you, Keith, they'll end up with enough evidence to convict somebody. It's just going to take way, way too long. It's going to take way too long for any of us to be happy because there is somebody out there. Don't hit me, but a criminal thinks the police are bad. Well, here's the thing. The police sent somebody to my door to sell me guns at a ridiculously cheap price. Then the same person who was an informant introduced me to FBI agents to sell the guns to. They created a crime out of nowhere. That's called entrapment. I love the cops now. I root for them, honest to God. But at the time, no, I wasn't much of a fan. But even the guys that hunted me down on the bank robberies, I hadn't robbed a bank in 2 years. They got a guy that claimed I helped him plan a bank robbery. That never happened. However, I was a bank robber, so I didn't feel like they screwed me over too bad. I was cheating. They were cheating. And on that day, they got me. But I don't hate them. Do you have any opinion on Stockholm Syndrome? I believe it's real. I absolutely believe it's real. I've read a couple of books on it. And there have definitely been cases where people hang out long enough, and just being in prison, you build relationships with guards that are odd, right? But I believe that Stockholm Syndrome definitely works. The Jimmy Hoffa case, well, we kind of know now, right? We kind of know what happened with Jimmy Hoffa. Don't watch the movie because the movie's not nearly as good. But if you read the book, So You Paint Houses, it'll give you a pretty decent idea of what happened to him. Hell, Dan Serafini got sentenced for killing his father-in-law and shooting his mother-in-law. And it took a hot minute, didn't it, Mia? It took a hot minute. That's the Lake Tahoe case. There are some parallels in this. There are definitely some parallels in this. Isn't Stockholm Syndrome a self-preservation mechanism? I think to some degree it is. And to some degree, you just start... his right-hand man popped off. He did. He absolutely did. But I think at some point you just start looking at the reasoning behind what these people are doing. You may not necessarily agree with it, but you might hang with it. All right, people. We've gotten to that hour where I went a little long today because you guys had great questions. Real Mikey, if they don't have a customer record at Walmart for the entire getup, maybe not a customer, but employee instead who thieved the stuff. That's an interesting thought. But you know what? Every time you get one of those, Mikey, anytime instead of you buying it, you had somebody boost it for you, that booster can turn your ass in. Anytime you add one more person to this, that $1 million starts looking real good. Most people who are criminals, it's not like the movies, man. Most criminals are blue-collar criminals. They're barely making enough money to keep their dope habit going, right? So give one of those criminals an opportunity to come up instantly on $1,200,000, and they're going to start dropping stuff. Did I used to go on Sean? I used to have my own show on the Sean Atwood program, Elise Brooks. Absolutely. I used to do shows on the Sean Atwood program every single week. Other than carried over her shoulder, how could her wet blood drops not get stepped on by her perp? Maybe planted by syringe? Interesting. Carried over the shoulder would do it. You could also probably carry her like you would carry a baby, like this way. If she was not in some kind of a tarp or a bag or whatever, and her head was to the side, she's leaking out her nose. It could have been one of those situations where you were carrying her out that way and she was leaking from cutting her leg or a foot. But it's definitely odd. Yeah. Well, and this is kind of a worthless thing to tell the public too. How the hell does this help us to tell the public this? Good night, Rue. Thank you for spending time with us. I think the Walmart was just applied to say that anybody could have done it. Well, it's the truth, and it doesn't help. In fact, it probably does the exact opposite, right? It really does. Look at that. My honey said, "Love you, Rue," and do me a favor, stop by and check out Relatable Reese. Also, if you're into cooking, stop by and see Chef. He has his own channel as well. Send you an email with the watch photos. Let me know what you think. I promise you I will, and I do have an address for you now. Coolest gift ever. Tomorrow night, I'll show all of you a picture of it. Cannot wait. The coolest thing anyone has ever given to anyone in true crime. Like, Holy Grail kind of stuff. It is going to go up right there for eternity. It will never come down. I promise you, as long as I'm live, it will be there. It's the coolest thing you've ever seen. If you're into true crime, all of you are. This one's going to blow you away. Night, Dystopian Danny. Thank you for your research. I appreciate you. Chef, thanks for all you do. People, I'm going to call it a night. I got to go and hang out with my bride. Do yourself a favor. Stop by and click on Relatable Reese. Hit subscribe. You will thank me later. I have not sent anyone over there that didn't thank me. You probably will see people in the chat that say, boy, I saw her last night. She was amazing. That is how you originally found me, from Sean Atwood. Still love Sean. Absolutely love him. Decent chance you'll see me on Sean again. I've just been really, really busy, but I love Sean Atwood. He's a great guy, a solid researcher, just a good dude, and has always treated me with a load of respect. I love Sean Atwood. I really do, and he's a survivor. So do me a favor, stop by and hit subscribe at my wife's channel. I trade that for really dirty favors. You wouldn't believe it. Giggity. So I need more of those, and I need them quickly. And if you haven't hit subscribe here, do it, because you're not going to want to miss my stuff. It's fun to hang out. I have the greatest audience in all of YouTube, and I'm not just pandering to my great audience. I absolutely mean that. I have got the best audience in all of YouTube. They are the best. So between now and the next time I see you, put a little love in your heart and make sure that you say a prayer for this family. What they're going through is hell, no matter how you shake it, and they absolutely could use that. I will see you on the next one. Reese, talk to you soon. Good night, everybody. See you on the next one.